Right, do you want to start then?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's roll. What episode is it, Trent?
13.
13?
Clip.
I'm gonna count down from 13.
13?
What? 13!
Good evening, everybody. Episode 13 of the Sherlocks podcast, joined by me, Trent, Alex, and Brandon. How are we all doing, boys?
Superb.
All right.
Yeah, good, thank you.
I suppose that leads us nicely on to what we've been up to.
Any more seagull attacks?
No more seagull attacks. What did I do Friday? Had a quiet one Friday. What did I do Saturday? Can't remember even. No, interesting, because I can't remember all what I've done. You did, Alex.
Been on a walk, that's about it. Cooked a bit of food, as you do, to survive. And then watching United get battered.
What, on your walk? You cooked it?
Yeah, just down this little alley.
Bear Grylls, is it?
Yeah, it weren't as good as the week before. Can't have it every week, can you?
No.
No, you cannot.
Otherwise, you'd just be eating like a king.
Yeah, well, sometimes it makes you think, did I fluke it that time? Why was it so good? Was it a fluke or did I balls up this time?
That's what I've been doing, looking after this little bleeder.
Oh, you still got him. Hey,
Say hello to the boys.
how's he been?
Little tank, eh?
Yeah, he's a good lad.
He's got his armour on. He's cool, man.
Have to do this to get him to sleep every night. Go on, get down there. Good lad.
I went to Sheffield yesterday, Kelham Island. That was good. Around a few boozers. That's basically been the highlight of my weekend.
I went out in Manchester on Friday. That was the highlight of mine.
Were you watching a band?
No, I just went out with a few mates. Started off in Oyster Bar in Exchange Square, but then I was like, should we go over to Northern Quarter? Wanted to reminisce. Tried to go into Junior Jackson's. Too many of us wouldn't let us in.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
the thing
that
that
one.
happened to us.
That's the story, me and Alex, when we rocked up the
Which same guy?
I don't know, I can't remember. So then went into Lost Cat instead next door, then across to Gulliver's.
Did you go in Castle?
We didn't actually, it was very busy in there. Then after,
Porter.
went to Cane and Grain. Never been in before, but it's next to that. What's that? The Millstone. We're going to
Yeah.
go to that, but it was shut. It was quite late at this point. Just looking for anywhere that was open.
4 in the morning by this point.
Yeah, it actually was by the time it got
Was
back.
it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Laughing about that time you got rejected from Junior Jacks. What's he got? Junior Jackson's?
Yeah.
Jacks.
Junior Jackson's, yeah.
Yeah, you walked up to the bouncer, didn't you? And he just went,
Yeah.
stopped you in your tracks and just went, no.
Alex, yeah, you're wearing your bouncer jacket as well. And it was just like, no.
Yeah, he was intimidated. There's only one bouncer in this village.
They were going to iron you out.
Weren't having it.
They were that far off, folding you in half. That far.
I don't know.
They were. But then later on,
Yeah,
we
chill
were like,
out,
yeah,
mate.
yeah, come in.
I think you had a bit of
Yeah,
roid
took a
rage.
chill pill.
Just went, no. You went, why not?
You
Looking
can
up
only
at him.
ask, am I doing something wrong? Is it going to fault me? That's the next another boozer. I'd like to know.
It's funny because you're a big lad. You're, what, 6 foot?
8.
Summer. You were looking up at him.
Yeah.
You went, why not? He just went, too many.
Too many.
No, it weren't that. Yeah, too many inside. Not I've had too many.
No, there's too many of us.
Well, probably both, to be fair. You've had too
How
many.
many are us? Well, there's 6,
Yeah.
7
Yeah.
tops.
Yeah,
had
well,
too many.
it was probably just as well because it's like 2 pints of gamma ray in there for about £7. That
Yeah.
buy one get one free, innit?
Probably knew exactly why we were heading over there.
Yeah, too many gamma rays.
Yeah, Gwen. Gamma ray drinkers coming across the road, don't let them in.
Yeah,
Big
suck
lad,
like fish. These suck like fish.
big lad looks like a guzzler.
We've got a guzzler. We've got a guzzler.
Yeah.
Love it. It's just like got
It's
really
decent.
pop punk tunes on.
It's like a proper dive bar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love it.
It's like King Woodcock's dream bar when they're playing alt punk pop.
Pop punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see him getting up, being his element.
Punk rock.
Tried to go to that Definitely Maybe bar, but it was shut, even though it said it closed quite late.
It will be at 4
was
in the
just-
morning.
No, God.
It wasn't that.
Whereabouts is it?
It's,
Top
you know,
Tip Street,
Affleck's
innit?
Palace. Affleck's Palace, so where we stayed at that Sasha's, and then there's that NQ64, and there's like
Oh, yeah.
that big building. That's Affleck's Palace, but it's on the corner where the traffic lights are. We used to always cross over to
Alright.
Martin Fred's.
Did it used to be?
Literally
Is it
on
what
the
used to
corner.
be Brewdog? Not Brewdog. Black Dog Ballroom.
And there's a band called Affleck's Palace.
I think so, yeah. I don't actually know. I never even noticed anything that was there on that corner. But there was
I think it might
something
have
there
been
before,
where
probably.
Black Dog Ballroom was. Yeah. R.I.P. Got parcels galore coming today. I need to make sure I get them. Like I say, my boots that I left in Margate. Probably 2 months ago. More than 2 months, 2.5 months ago.
What, and you're getting them back today?
No, it's not 2.5 months ago. Is it 8?
This could be stories section, this.
Stories.
Right, stories, here we go. So the dressing room was tiny at Margate, and everybody were in there, and I was getting changed behind the door, and I changed my shoes. Anyway, long story short, I left my Chelsea boots there. But the lovely people of Dreamland Margate have kindly sent them back to me, so they're coming back today. Woo!
You'll respect that. They could have quite easily nicked your boots, and they didn't.
You actually didn't have any hope, did you? And then randomly, one time, just got a call.
It was 2 weeks after I asked, but it took them 2 weeks to find them.
Yeah.
So you
We
can
just
understand
found
how I
these
lost
boots.
them.
Took them 2 weeks to make a decision whether to keep them or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sent out a full-on search party.
Italian leather.
Yeah. So, can't wait.
Can't wait to get his boots back.
Crocodile
What?
skin, weren't they?
Crocodile. Won't be seeing Dad in it.
Snake skin.
I forget some.
2 hours later.
What you got?
There you go. His boots have arrived.
Hey! Thank you, Margate. Dreamland.
Watch a bit wrong pair of boots.
That'll be so.
You're joking.
Then give it close up.
Hey.
It looks like they've been a bit squished in the past, but it's all right. With a bit of a brush.
I wasn't too bothered.
I know.
Them's the ones.
See these boots? They were around my neck when I swam it.
That was a good little gig. That went for a walk, didn't we? That was somewhat funny as well. Basically, the people who are the venue manager or the owner of that Dreamland, is it called? Me and you, Alex, went for a walk, and he was like showing us round, being proper sound, like fucking took us down to roller skate bit, and that turned all lights on, telling us how it all operates, and then
Yeah, it was like a proper old school like roller disco, wasn't it?
yeah, something happened where he told you a code or something. And then about 2 seconds after,
Said, do not share the code to anyone. And lo and behold, Kieran's like 5 minutes behind us, or 2 minutes behind, and it's like a big complex, and it's like Fort Knox. Anyway, someone else told him the code, and the guy who'd given me the code was with Kieran at this gate, and Kieran went, "Oh, it's all right, I know the code." And he went, "I told him not to tell anyone."
Yeah, it weren't even you, it was like Shed Seven's runner who sorts all bottles of water out.
oh god,
He told me code, like 5923X, and I went, alright, cheers, pal. And then bumped into owner, and he was like, 1 sec, you're going to need code. I went, it's alright, mate, it's told me code. I'll do it with you. Kicked it off.
dear.
Yeah, sound up.
Absolutely shafted me.
did catch up with him after though. I did say you didn't tell him code.
It's nice, isn't it, Margate?
I'd love to go back in summer.
When we were at merch stall and that, there was that screen coming up, and I tell you all gigs that were coming up. Well, it looked like they had a decent lineup of events this year. Looking at
I wanted to. Well, you were on about it and all, Alex, but I think we're gigging. Fancied that. We're at Pistols and Stranglers supporting.
Yeah, and Buzzcock.
Mint.
solid lineup that.
Meant it just took about 10 years to get there, driving.
Well, I can imagine it won't be the last gig we do down there, but like Ali said, it's a bit of a trek, innit? So
Yeah.
if the right support arrives, or there's a nice little venue where we could rock up and do something, let us know in comments. We'll go down for a weekend.
Would have been mint to get on that Pistols one.
Sounds like there's already a full lineup.
Oh yeah, there will be. Well, it is. Listening to No Mercy live.
It's weird, isn't it? They've just announced some more gigs, I think, in Europe.
Australia.
Is that where it is? Australia.
I think, yeah.
Who's singing?
Frank Carter. It was in Gallows.
It's a bit of a weird one because it's obviously a watered down version of what it is. But who's in band?
Well, original 3, and then instead of John Lydon, it's Frank Carter.
Why come he ain't doing it? You're more into him than me. Don't fancy it? Or don't get on or what?
No, I don't think he don't fancy it. I just don't think they get on. No, they definitely don't. They definitely don't get on. He brought that documentary out, Lonely Boy, and then it all kicked off. I'll be honest, it was really good when I watched them.
It just seems a bit of a shame that there's a band going out there touring when all the members are still alive and they could actually do it all together. That just seems like a bit of a waste.
Well, they've already reunited, and I think he brings a lot of new energy to it.
Who, Frank?
Into the songs, yeah.
You prefer Frank, don't you?
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
don't
say.
prefer Frank. I don't prefer Frank.
Where did you see Originals?
Manchester MEN, 2007. This is a funny story, actually. I asked all my mates at secondary school, I said, oh my God, Sex Pistols are getting back together. Who wants to go? My mates were like, yeah, I'll go. Anyway, I don't think any of the parents had let them go. I ended up with like 4 spare tickets. They're all like, what, 50 quid each? I ended up going with me, my mum and my dad. So, oh my God, well, I think they got the tickets. They're out of pocket by about, God knows, 200 quid or something. My mum's just there like, I'm watching Sex Pistols. Like, I didn't know what to think. I'm there just like this. Still took me. Legend.
Things that grind your gears. Is that grinding your gears, Trent or Alex? B?
What about, you know, when you get a parcel delivered and they walk across your garden?
I thought you were going to say more
Instead
like
of going-
when you get a parcel delivered and sometimes they just like knock on the door, don't even wait for you to come and they just leave it on the doorstep.
Yeah,
Like,
But
they don't even know if you're in or not. Or sometimes they don't even knock, they just put it on the doorstep.
Yeah, or when they put it in a bin. That's been known to happen.
I don't mind it when they do that. If they put it in the paper bin, it's alright.
What about, so when we come over to like near you, Yorkshire, your bin
Yorkshire.
colours are completely
Oh,
different. So imagine you're, say, I don't know, you're changing area, you're working for Every, right? You think, I'm going to relocate, I'm going to go start delivering in Yorkshire.
Seems sense.
He's not going to get that paper bin. He's going to chuck it in the general, isn't he?
You know what? I agree with that. I agree with that because after moving out from my mum and dad's, my bins are different and I'm not even that far and it winds me up. My mum and dad's sort of made sense in that area. It was green bin were for green stuff, like your plants. Blue were cardboard, brown were glass, like bottles and plastic. I couldn't even tell you what mine are and I'm short of a bin. You don't
We've
pay
got
for it, haven't you?
4. Yeah.
I don't even know how many I've got, but this is not a section of what grinds your gears. This is like, I've kind of flipped it on its head. This is like small wins, you know, them little wins where you think, yeah. On the bin theme, I've got 2 brown bins for some reason, and they're only supposed to take 1. And because I've had loads of cardboard and parcels and that, I filled the other bin up full of bottles and cardboard, which I think goes in the brown bin. Last night I put both brown bins out, on chance that they'd empty them both. Checked this morning, they've took them both, so that were a nice little win. When I think
What do you do? Just put like one closer to another house?
Well, I don't think you're supposed to leave it on street, so I put one right like it's just edging onto the street and then one behind it like it's like a caravan up back of it. They've done them both, so fair play to them.
Well, if you can keep in with bin men.
They'll be getting a Christmas tip.
Well, yeah, we give them chocolates. I don't really eat chocolate, so well done, mate. Thank you.
chocolate?
You've done great all year.
Well done, mate. You've done your job.
Yeah, you've done your job.
Thanks for all your service over the year, mate. Here's a miniature hero. My bin situation's screwed. I've got a pink lid on a black bin. I think that's the normal one. I don't even own a green for your leaves, for your grass cuttings and all that crap. Sorting out, to be fair.
How many bins you got?
3.
How many you got, Alex?
3.
How many you got, Trent?
4.
What you got?
How many
A
bins
blue-
have we got collectively?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've got a blue one. My mum and dad's got a blue one, haven't they?
I've got a cardboard one, a general waste one, and
That's
I've got
great, isn't it?
and a bottle. Well, this is what I mean. It's all changed, and I preferred it how it was. I've got a blue one. Have I got a blue one? I might have a blue one, possibly. It might be a different colour, that's cardboard. My general waste is black with a pink lid, and I've just got an old black one, which is like bottles.
I've got a grey one, which is general. I've got a brown one, technically I've got 2 brown ones, which is just it's recyclable, so it's like cardboard and bottles, plastic. That all goes in there, and then green one's just for like garden waste, isn't it? So
It's so weird because they're all different. Like mine is the brown one is the grass cuttings and food waste and that. And
you got a green one?
yeah, there's a dark green which is general waste, and there's a light green with a blue lid which is just bottles and plastic.
that's bananas.
And then there's a blue which is all paper.
Yours sounds the worst of the lot, to be fair.
No, it makes sense. I've gone to other places and been like, what is this bin setup?
This is what this podcast come to
Yeah.
talk about.
Talking about bins.
Make sure you subscribe.
The bin podcast.
Tell us what your bin colours are. And
Yeah, that's a great shout, Trent. Anyone watching this, write below in your comments, because we really are interested. Where you're from, how many bins you've got, and what do they do?
Yeah. And what is the correct lineup that makes sense in your head?
Yeah.
I tell you what, that were a load of rubbish.
no.
Oh,
No.
Oh god, sorry. Might not end up using that section, but then again, wouldn't want to waste it. Oh god.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna choose a song by Garbage.
right, this section is new music. I've explained it loads of times before, but basically it's the section where us four give you a tune by a band or an artist what you may or may not have heard before. We like to support new music. Mine this week is a band called the Denabys, and the song is called What Were You Trying to Say? It reminded me of a little bit like early Arctic Monkeys, but a bit more balls to it. So Yeah, go and give that a listen.
I'm going to go with, this is like very, very new, a bit different. I'm going to go with a band called None of the Above. They've literally just released their first ever single that I recorded and produced in here called Silent Panic. Yeah, everything was recorded. They had drums set up in my hallway and everything. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. They're
How big your house?
Not that big.
When the levy breaks.
But yeah, they're only a young like college band that are just wanting to write and record their own stuff. It's a female singer, so if you like guitar and music with a female vocal, and go check them out, and hopefully they keep it up. We'll leave links
Nice.
in the descriptions to everything as well. So yeah,
I've heard that. It's a good tune. Recording's a bit sketchy, like, but
I did my best.
it sounded good, mate. It sounded very good. I'm going to go here. I promise next week it will be a new band. Promise. My dad sent me a tune a couple of weeks back by a guy called Joel Alme, who's a Swedish musician, and there's a song on an album called, well, the album's called Waiting for the Bells, which came out in 2010, but there's a song called The Way We Used to Beg, and it's a very good song. It's not new, but it will be new to you if you hadn't heard of him, as I didn't hear of that.
So, yeah.
Are you with us, Freddie?
Yeah, I think Postman's here.
It might be his boots.
How you doing? Right.
You can hear him.
Perfect. I'll have a look. I'll let you know later, Ian. All right, cheers.
See you, Ian.
Sorry.
And Alex's new tune is Postman Pat.
No, my new tune is by Jungle, who are class. Called Keep Me Satisfied. I think.
Nice.
Yeah, Jungle are class.
Are they on Jules Holland?
Recently, I've not seen it. I haven't watched it in
Fair
ages, to be fair.
That's why they were on the last one. I've heard the
Yeah.
name recent.
I saw them at, I mean, this is pre this, but I saw them at Glastonbury a couple of times, and they were insane. Such a good live band.
Sweet.
Nice.
Very cool. Yeah.
Any more plane crashes?
No, but
TikTok.
who's getting inaugurated today?
Trump.
Donald is
I
back
woke
in
up this
power
morning.
today.
I tell you what, I had a mad night last night. So I went to bed, can't remember what time I went to bed. Woke up, I couldn't hear any cars going down the road, so I thought, this has got to be early. But I didn't feel tired again. Looked at my phone, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I thought, oh, it's too early to get up. So I thought, I'll try and get back to sleep. So I was just like laid there for like 2 hours or something. Dropped back off to sleep, got up, looked at my phone, and the first thing I saw on my phone was a video of Donald Trump going, TikTok is back. Or something like that.
The TikTok is back.
Yeah, something like that. He must have done like a rally or something. But I tell you what is a good one for current affairs. 24 years of Phoenix Nights.
24 years of Phoenix Nights. Absolutely. I remember watching it as a kid. Like, it's like my mum and dad were watching it. Absolutely unreal.
I mean,
Welcome to the
Literally.
Phoenix
The
Club.
Phoenix Club.
I put it up as probably my favourite ever TV series.
It's class. Do you know what? It'd be so exciting if they announced they were making another, but I hope they're done as well. Well, I don't know. I hope
I
they do.
reckon. Yeah, I know. I reckon they could do a Christmas special.
Yeah.
Get away with that, not a series, because I think it's already written, innit?
What?
Yeah.
The Christmas special?
They've already written. Yeah, like this is a little bit off the track, but it were like everyone wanted more Only Fools and Horses, didn't they? And they were saying the only reason they couldn't do it is because the writer had died, and like as long as the writer of the program's still writing the thing, it's always going to be that.
Sort of comedy.
Yeah, that series or whatever, and it's like, is everyone still alive who were in Phoenix Nights?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
so.
they could quite easily do a Christmas special. It's just like you say, you wouldn't want to ruin it, but I don't think that.
I don't know about the captain.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he died, didn't he?
Well, yeah, worked perfect, really. But that was the captain.
Don't forget their
He was asthmatic. He was asthmatic.
He was asthmatic. He was asthmatic. Put him in the Pennine Suite.
But that was the captain.
I know what you mean. You never want it to tarnish what they've done before if it's that good.
I know. I don't. Comedy's changed. You can't say what you said then. But thinking about it, Phoenix Nights were never really
Offensive.
they weren't offensive. Yeah, it weren't really on the edge. It was just like I
No.
don't know. It was just like Bolton, Manchester way of talking that made it funny, weren't it? It weren't like offensive or like that. It was,
No.
Yeah.
You ever
it's
been?
just
You
unreal.
ever been to Phoenix Club?
no.
No, but it's not.
I've been.
It's not far away. Oh.
I went one day. I think I'd been in Manchester for a gig, and I was like, right, I'm going. I know it's not far away, so I just, before I set off driving back, I thought, right, I'm going to find this. So I drove there, had a photo outside it, and I thought, right, now at least I've been, but it's totally different. Like, on the left-hand side of what you'd imagine, you know where car park is? The build, obviously it's a normal pub, and it's still like operating as a normal pub, so what they've done, obviously, over the last 20 years is expand the building. Like, I think there's like a conservatory or like an extra bit they put on, and then a fence going outside, so it's like it don't actually look like what it used to in series, but when you're at front, you kind of get the vibe exactly what it was. The only thing that baffles me is they've got the Phoenix Club sign up still, but I forgot the name of what they call it now. I was like, why don't they just change name to that? Like,
Is it in Failsworth?
I don't know where it is. I forgot the name of the Phoenix. 2 seconds, I'll see what they call it. But it just baffles me how they won't just change it to that. Because we were talking about trying to get a gig there, weren't we, on them acoustic things?
Yeah.
We should try and do that still. I think it'd be an absolute right laugh.
No, it's not. It's not in Failsworth, is it?
St Gregory's.
St Gregory's.
Same
Not
ring.
Farnworth.
Fan comments. So we've had a lot of comments in the last one. We're going to try and read as many out as possible. If not, we'll read them out in the next one anyway. Start off with Jeff Thompson's commented a few times. Try getting Steve Bracknell, manager of Royal Oak, on some podcasts. We did ask for suggestions on who to get on. So him, and he said another guy, Mark Crosley.
Yeah.
Met up with him in Nottingham, didn't we?
Yeah.
Or
Top
Nottingham.
guy. Top man. Absolute. Invited us for a round of golf, hasn't he?
Yep.
We're going to take him up on that.
He
I'll
brought
tell you
it
what,
up.
we're thinking about that. It's not long till we go for we're going on a bit of a golf trip, and I'm thinking, can't remember the last time I played.
It'll all come back though. Oh, yeah.
There's an out to come back.
That is true.
Where I left off.
They also asked, which band in the history of music would you have liked to be in?
Good question. Very good question.
I reckon Duran Duran would have been pretty mental in the 80s.
Just trying to think of one of them bands that are absolutely nuts.
What about Queen?
Queen,
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Elvis's band.
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin, yeah.
Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Saying that, you see videos of like Led Zeppelin. Jimmy Page, he was drunk quite a lot of the time, wasn't he?
Sounds like you.
Hey, mouth.
What about Motley Crue?
What about Motorhead?
Not red. I reckon you'd have no eardrums left.
No.
I don't know. Bee Gees, I reckon, would have been pretty sick.
Yeah,
But
massive.
then again, not related to any of them. So
I'd go Queen, just for size at gigs, and it'd just be nuts. And I can imagine that were a travelling circus, that. I bet it was nuts.
Them lads, that pop group.
Them lads. Blue Zone. Surprised you had said Sex Pistols, fraud.
well, I didn't want to be too obvious. Obviously, I would have loved to have been in Pistols, definitely.
You tried, didn't
Would have been
you?
pretty sick. I did try.
Some questions here from Lee and Donna.
Donna.
I knew you were going to do that. What is your favourite piece of music memorabilia and why?
Good question.
For me, just straight out of there, is the Urban Hymns vinyl I got signed by Ashcroft, and I've got it all framed up nice. So it'd probably be that album I've listened to since I was 15, 16 or something. And then obviously had the pleasure of supporting him twice. And what surprised me the most is he remembered everything from the first gig, even though the years between the gigs and how many gigs he played in between that. And he was just so sound. So yeah, that'd be mine. Found that over there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'll save that for another story, but basically Liam Gallagher signed this Enemy magazine and me ticket stub and invited us into the dressing room in 2011. I were in the Sherlocks, obviously we just started, but we weren't like a band or a proper band, but yeah. And I found that under a set of drawers somewhere, so it must have fell off the wall at some point and thing. But in a future podcast I will tell the full story about how I got this. I've just seen it outside then.
Nice.
I'm going to go with, it's not like Ashcroft level, but probably something like signed set list from like The Enemy or something.
Nice.
Because that's when we were first getting into music, quite inspiring. Listening to a lot of bands like Twisted Wheel and Miles Kane.
Pigeon Detectives were a big
Pigeon
one.
Detectives. Do you know what it would have been? It would have been bloody, I've told this story before, it would have been Kasabian's drummer's drumstick, but I nearly got my back brought. I waited for it at the end of the Kasabian gig, caught it, and then this big bloke who were about 50 and about 18 stone just pretty much nearly snapped me back trying to grab it and got it confiscated. But yeah, probably a set list, I reckon, from like Enemy.
Come on, Trent. You must have plenty of...
I've got a few set lists in that, but I think the biggest one is I saw Foreigner threw out guitar picks, and I think it was one that was actually used by the guitarist, one of them. And yeah, so guitar pick. I think it's got the name on it. I've got it somewhere. Yeah, probably that, and it says Foreigner on it. I can't think. I've probably got some other things, but
Also, people, keep sending in your questions. We love to hear from you. We love listening to Trent's voice, read them out. And yeah, we get some interesting questions. So if you've got a question for us, you want to know anything, stick them in the comments and we will get round to reading them out on the podcast. Right, everybody, this week's special guest is a good friend. We've known him hell of a long time now. He did all our early demos pre-album one, which also led him into recording his debut album, Live for the Moment, back in 2016. I think he is. Award-winning producer. He's been churning out records for ages. Super talented guy. Gavin Monaghan. In fact, Monaghan corrected me. But yeah, we had a really lengthy chat with him, so rather than make this episode way too long, we're going to split it in two and we'll release part two sometime in the future, but here's part one. Yes, everybody, we're joined by his good friend, Gavin Monaghan. In fact, this is 1G. I want to sort this once and for all. Is it Monaghan or Monaghan?
It's Monaghan, so it's a hybrid of 50% of everything you said before. Right. So it's Monaghan.
Well, I've got a good friend at family, and it's spelled exactly the same, and he insists it's Monaghan. So.
We're probably related. Where's he from? Is he from Ireland?
No, he's not.
Right. No. Well, he probably is back in the day,
I think his granddad's from Belfast, but...
Oh, no, it's from the north of Ireland originally. Territorially from the north of Ireland, but my family are all from Dublin. They're kind of, there's travelling blood and all that in the family. So, it's not really that common a name. So if you find another person with it, you're normally related to them at some point.
Yeah, well, at least we've cleared that up. Monaghan. So, yeah. We're joined by Gab Monaghan. Pleasure to have you on, mate. We've known you a good few years now.
It is. Well, how long is it now? Got to be getting on for 10, isn't it?
Probably more.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's because we used to come down and I can't remember the name of the area. We used to stay at this certain place, didn't we? Me and Kieran, and we did all those early demos and that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Of course.
Before we even did album, we used to spend a lot of time just travelling up and down and doing them early demos and.
Yeah, we did loads of stuff together. It's great. It's lovely, man. We've got a real nice shared history there.
Yeah. Thinking back now, it feels like we were like really young, like kids, if you know what I mean. Like teenagers.
Yeah. We had a load of really fun times doing all those. All the different stuff we tried, all the mics in weird places and stuff like that. I just think it was loads of fun doing it.
Yeah.
And, in retrospect, it went really well, didn't it?
100%, yeah. I think his first album came out in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
We recorded it in 2016, which means the first, Last Night, Heart of Gold, Motions, all previous versions of what ended up on album, they were done 2014, 15 kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is literally 10 years or more.
Been some journey, mate. Honestly.
It has, yeah. I remember we had a pie chart or something at the start of the record, or a flow chart or some weird thing, and we were all filling it in with the progress of the recording of your first record.
Yeah.
Loads of little pictures all over it and stuff. It was great fun.
It's been unbelievable, mate. And honestly, I think for me and Brandon especially, I know you've met and spent time with Alex and Trent in the studio, but for us personally, a big reason we wanted to get you on the podcast is not only to chat about the first album, but I think me and Brandon both agree, just getting into music, not just saying it because you're on, you open the world up for us in terms of just being in the studio for the first time and really getting excited by everything. I can remember early days of getting in studio with you and just, it's almost like a kid in a sweet shop kind of thing. You had that old piano with pins in top of hammers and stuff, and really thinking, this is mad.
It's still there, it's actually still there. No. That's awesome, yeah.
It was the old studio, weren't it?
It was, yeah. It was the one on that industrial estate in the middle of Wolverhampton, wasn't it?
Yeah, good though. Exactly what Kieran just said. It was when we got signed eventually, and then you get all these A&R guys coming in saying, "Oh, you want to go with this producer? You want to go with this one? You want to try this and try that?" It came down to us.
They're normally managing these people, so they get a cut of it.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
And they were like, "Oh, you try this producer, and they come back to us, and we were like, because we'd worked with since we were kids and that, we were like, we trust you. That's why we went with you. And
that's lovely, mate.
Best thing we did. We had a blast at Rockfield, didn't we?
Yeah, it was loads of fun. Yeah, we got some really good stories from that as well. I've still got some great photographs, actually.
Well, we'll get onto that anyway. Talking about the first album, but that was a good time. That thinking back, it's making me laugh even thinking about it. We want to start right back at the beginning, Gav. How were your childhood? Were you always into music as a kid?
Yeah, I've got something called synesthesia, which allows me to see music as well as hear it. The senses kind of bleed into each other a little bit. And it's a bit of autism, but it's a bit of a gift because it lets me see and feel and hear music in a different way maybe to other people. And I relate to people differently because of it, I guess, in some way. They spotted that pretty early when I was a kid, that I could identify the notes on a piano without any formal training. I'd just only heard the music teacher do it once. I think I was about 7. So I always kind of knew after that, when she told me that I could do a few things that other people maybe couldn't do, that I thought this is something I can really do. So I ended up, when I left school, I went straight on tour in a band, and I played a variety of instruments, and very much used to enjoy just sitting in my room for hours and just playing guitar, same as you boys. I think I understand people in bands on a very deep level because I've had, I guess, all of the same experiences probably as them. So I'm trying really hard whenever I work with people to bring a bit of that to it. I was brought up loving music, and it was my life. I used to teach myself how to play. Nobody ever taught me, and I used to copy the records off my parents' turntable, and they used to play at the wrong speed, so I used to play all the songs in the wrong key and work them out. But it was good. It was good training, So yeah, I definitely had a lot of music as a kid, and it was my life. That's in the same way as it is for most of the kids I work with. And then I watched them develop into successful bands, and it's just such a massive buzz to see that and to hear the music getting played on the radio and played on people's Spotify playlists and stuff. It's amazing.
Class. When was the first band you went into, Gav? What year were it, and how old were you?
I was in a band with my foster brother. We were called Last Chance. Weirdly enough, we got offered a deal by Island Records at the time. I think we were only probably about 16, something like that. We made some really interesting music and wrote loads of songs. We had a record deal, and for a little while, and a publishing deal, and it was a lovely experience. It was also a very humbling experience because you find out all the things you've been doing that could have been better, and you listen to people's advice. Not all of it's good, as you know. I mean, you come into contact with record labels. Sometimes they're super helpful and you get introduced to a load of really great people, or sometimes you end up with somebody's nephew from marketing and then you get told to do something that's maybe not in your best interest just because someone likes the sound of their own voice. It can go both ways. So I just watch this stuff all the time, and, you get a bit of wisdom. I guess I've been doing this a really long time, and I try to use my best instincts, I suppose, to guide people through that kind of maze a little bit. When I was a kid, we got put in with some very strange people in the studio, and at the end of the day, you just got to make your own record and have your own decisions as much as you can. But yeah, I used to love being in a band, and we ended up playing all the different places. We supported the Police once, and there were like 13 people in the audience.
Wow.
And as far as I can remember, I think 2 members of the band, I won't name them, had a scrap in the parking lot over a timing issue, I think. And I think somebody was speeding up and somebody wanted to do it slower. I mean, we supported some great artists in the day, We ended up on a lot of really interesting bills, doing festivals and all that. So I love to see the people I work with do the same thing, because for me, I'm really privileged. I get to relive my childhood over and over and over again. And I mean, maybe it's Groundhog Day, I don't really know. I get to kind of see the people I work with do exactly the same things I did, but just updated all the time because things change so much. Like, there was no digital stuff, there was no phones, there was no Spotify or TikTok or any of it. All it basically was people selling tickets and people turning up. Now it's a completely different landscape. The music industry is completely different. And now you've got to basically do stuff like podcasts and be filmed 24/7 and provide content. And that was never even a thing then. So you just move with the times and you try and embrace it and work with what you got, I suppose.
Yeah. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but that's an interesting point. We're actually going to ask you about that. Like,
oh, of course. Yeah,
just how much it's changed. Like you say, I think there's some elements still, like, say, for instance, just on our level, like when we tour places like Germany, I think they are still in touch with, like, it's not so much the hype thing. They will actually take a punt on you and just be like, oh, there's a band on this venue, and just go and check you out. They've never even seen you before. I think that's a massive thing that our band loves doing when we do go to Germany. But like, we just appreciate the fact that these randomers who have never seen us are just like, they come and check us out and they end up speaking to us after, and they're like, oh, you're amazing, and it's crazy. But yeah, what are your thoughts on how much it's changed and stuff? Did you prefer it how it was pre-social media and stuff like that, or think it's better these days?
It's different, and I think that art always has to evolve and change, and it has to embrace everything around it for it to be relevant art. And I think music is the same. It has to evolve, and the only way you can work with progress and with development and things getting more and more technical and more visual is go with it. You have to. I hear loads of people my age moaning and bitching about how it was great in the old days. We had loads of fun, you know. I worked in some massive studios. I used to have swimming pools as part of like the studio budget. You'd go somewhere like Jacobs and there'd be a tennis court and all that. I mean, now you'd never see anything like that really, but it's still a situation where people are able to make brilliant records, and there is an audience out there if you know how to work hard enough to attract them and how to get above the noise that everybody's making and get your own brand out there. You can still do well. I love it personally. I embrace modern music and the modern way of doing things because it'll change again. Like in 5 years we'll have a completely different landscape the way we did before. I think a lot of it will go towards subscription-based stuff, and I think the labels will probably claim back a load of the stuff that Spotify has kind of cornered the market on. So I'm hoping that maybe the artists will benefit a bit more from that than they are doing currently. What you mentioned about Germany is really interesting. I've literally this week just launched a new label, which is, something I've been wanting to do for the last year, and we've been in talks about it and stuff like that, and finally we've got it out there. And one of the people that I'm working with is in Germany, Ronan. He lives in Hamburg, and he actually said how much more interactive the German audiences are, because he's Irish. He went to live in Germany, and he just says that like the audiences are brilliant, the clubs are great, everyone's enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I love England, but it can be sometimes we have so many bands here and so much art and so many. Sometimes people are a bit indifferent here in comparison. We still have great audiences, but if you go to Europe, sometimes the audiences, they're just so different.
Yeah.
It's not that it's better or worse, it's just really different. And you get used to almost a level of cynicism here that you don't really get in Europe. People are a bit more, like, they tend to support people a little bit past the first stage of their career. Because here, everybody goes completely mental over the first part of a band. And if you're really lucky, they follow you for your whole career. But in Europe, that seems to be a lot more common. I mean, it always was. Whenever I've toured Europe in the past, I've always been like, oh my God, the audiences here are crazy, and it seems that that's still the case from what you've just said. And Ronan said that it's definitely the case, that people generally are quite free, when they come and see you, and they're really interactive. I think everyone really just knows how to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I guess there are advantages to it because the songs people write here can be quite dark and interesting, and they're tinted with the same dark sort of cynicism that's in British comedy, British humour generally, British music. It tends to produce really interesting art. Like, people will write songs that are very deep, and worldwide, of course, we're really well respected here for our output because it's very cutting edge. European American audiences tend to really see us as innovators, and there's a lot of credibility attached to British songwriting, British production, British audio, British music industry, all of that. It's classic. It's been that way since the Beatles and before. But there is a certain freedom to a European audience that you see it here sometimes, but you don't really see it at the same level. They tend to get really involved, and not only that, but they're loyal and they buy everything you've got, and they follow you around and they follow you on tour, and you end up having brilliant conversations all the time. I really love Europe, and I love the European audiences. I just think they're really warm.
Yeah.
Does that make sense with what you've experienced?
I agree. I'd say outside of UK, or not even outside the UK, like even on a par with UK, Germany in particular is like one of our favourite, as well as we've been to Japan a couple of times, but like you said, the audiences are completely different. And going back to like just after gigs, it's just completely different. It's not better or worse. I'd say it's better, but there's less phones in the gigs. A good example is like a couple of tours ago, I'm sure we're in Germany somewhere, and we played Siren, which is obviously a big single off this fourth album, which sounds mental, but that weren't even a tune at the time. It weren't a single, sorry. It were just, I don't even think it was fully,
No, it
weren't even final. We're still working it out, but We said, oh, let's play it tonight. And that happened to be the best. We got the best reaction from that song. Like, people were going nuts. There were no form. It was just everybody going, hey, hey, hey. And then it kicked in on solo and people were bouncing. I think there were one girl at front who follows us and she got a video of it. And then, like you say, you go and meet people at merch store after and people are coming up like going, do a shot with us and like, let's make a picture. And it's unreal.
Did anybody have a Sherlocks tattoo? You've seen a few of those, haven't you? I've seen it on your...
Yeah, we have seen
It's normally live for the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that. I actually think it's brilliant to see that, you know? That's a level of commitment, isn't it? It's on there for life.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yes, I completely agree. Also, the quality of the venues and the support that the government gives venues is completely another level. Like here, it's always been, I'm hoping things are going to change a little bit now. Art's always been, in recent years, sidelined a little bit. I think a lot of people would rather you just shut up and worked in a factory or whatever. Not a factory particularly, but anything, anywhere, rather than write songs.
Yeah.
If you've got the gift of writing, you immediately become dangerous because nobody really wants to hear about how much some kid hates the government. They just won't put the record out. I think that in Britain, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of rebellion. There's loads of political bands, socially aware bands, bands with brilliant comments, artists who actively try and engage kids to sort of, think a bit deeper about life issues. People tend to sing about depression and how to deal with it and stuff like that. I just think it's a really healthy environment. It puts a lot of the people in charge to shame. It's quite obvious that this generation really cares about each other. And I really love that. The kids I work with all really look after each other and care about each other. There's more of a community. It really reminds me of the late 70s quite a bit. There's more of a community between some of the bands I work with. They'll try and help each other. Whereas it used to be like bitter competition, and people going, oh yeah, who does he think he is with the mohawk, and stuff like that. And you don't get any of that now. You just get, oh great, yeah, let's do a gig. Yeah. And I absolutely love that. I love that spirit. It seems a lot more productive than the competition. So what have you guys been up to then? Tell me about what you've been up to, because I love you lot. I really do. I always have. I love your songs. I just think as people, you're fantastic. It's just a real pleasure to be on here with you.
Oh, nice one, Gav. What we been up to?
Well, most recently, we're touring with Shed 7.
Oh, great. I love them.
Yeah, class. For a full month, actually.
If you're listening, lads, I'd love to make a record with you. I really would.
That absolutely sounds in fact, Rick Witter was the first special guest on the podcast.
Wicked. That's great, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I love that.
He said he's going to return the favour. If ever they start a podcast, he said, right, you're going to be the first special guest.
That's great. No, it's ace, and I love that you've done this as well, because I think this is a really great way to engage with people who appreciate who you are and what you do,
Yeah, well, I think as we're getting older, we are getting old, but we're not old. We're knocking on, right? I'm 29 Brandon's 41 now.
Yeah, 44.
Well, none of you look it, you could probably but the fact that you're all still together and still got a great fan base, great loyal following, you're still touring all over the world, you're still selling records, I think that's amazing. You've done really well to keep it together all these years, because it can be difficult, can't it?
Somebody said that to us back in day, like when we were kids and that. They said the hardest thing about being in a band is keeping a band together.
Yeah.
And it's like the fact we're on, like, as fifth album comes out in a couple of months.
Still sounds crazy.
It still sounds mad that we're fifth album. Like when we went into Rockfield to that first one, I think we were like having a joke, what we're going to do on like second album or something like that. And it's like you never know if you're going to get another album or not, do you?
No, you don't.
So the fact that we're on as fifth and we've got such a loyal fan base who's followed us from the beginning, it's incredible, really. You've
got to love them, Everyone's not only stayed with the band, but you've got new people all along, and all your gigs are so packed still. That's fantastic.
I think we've always been one of them bands, though, where we obviously work really hard, but we've always been a live band, if you know what I mean. Like everything around this band's always been coming to a gig, and it's really real. We're just going to continue to do that, because that's just what this band is.
I'm really honoured that I'm still working with you. We've done stuff fairly recently, and we've got stuff going on, haven't we? So I'm quite touched that we're all still in contact and doing a bit of work together. I think it's lovely, and it's always lovely to see you as well. When you turn up, we always have a load of fun.
Yeah, it's glad.
And we always come up with something really brilliant as well. still. There's still a bit of a magic going on, which I love. So at this point, are you putting your own records out? Because you've got your own label, haven't you, I believe?
Yeah, we did the first 2 albums with BMG, and then
Yeah, that's what I did with you, wasn't it, around that period? Yes, that's right.
and then we were like, it weren't working after the second album, so we started his own, and then since then we've just gone from strength to strength. But
It's the modern way, isn't it?
yeah, I just feel like, touching on what we said earlier about like these A&R guys who think they know everything, it's like you've got to get yourself to a point where they're interested anyway, and you've done all that yourself. So it's like, why would you try and change something that's been working?
Yeah, I see that. The business is full of people who love music and really care about it still. Like, I work for people at labels and I have the most brilliant conversations with them. And a lot of them who've been doing it a really long time, they got into it because they loved music.
Yeah.
And they really are music fans still. And you can make really brilliant records with a record label. But sometimes you get assigned somebody who just doesn't get it. And that is really difficult, because if you're already a fully formed artist and you know exactly why people like you and you've got a career already, and then somebody comes in and says, well, do you know what, I think we really ought to make a drum and bass album. It's like, what are you on about? It can go that way, can't it? Yeah, I've seen a lot of that over the years. And sometimes you've got to trust your own instincts and realise that what you're doing is popular with the people who like you because it's good.
Yeah.
And because they actually have taste and they follow you because what you do is good, and it is and will be popular if you continue to do it. So, standing your ground sometimes quite hard in those situations, because you sign a contract, particularly at the start, because as a new band or a new artist, you're faced with the establishment right away, aren't you? It's just like, well, suddenly I'm not just in charge of everything anymore. Somebody else is kind of contracted to be on my team. And a lot of people don't really understand the relationship at the start and what it's about, and how if it's done right, it can be collaborative and you can make brilliant records together for a whole career. There are people I work with who are still on the same label they've been on for like 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And so it can really work. But if you get the wrong person who doesn't get it, it can be an absolute disaster.
I think like there's different elements like to the label. I think the A&R thing with us didn't really work so much. Not that because we didn't want to listen or anything like that. I think what you said before, like we just knew what we wanted to do and we knew what was right and what weren't right. But the aspect of like a team that's working your album, that worked really well for us on the first and second album. It's a lot harder now doing it independently because there's only us.
Yeah.
And obviously my dad, who's in our team.
Your dad's a hero. I'm not kidding, right? You guys all really appreciate him. I think he's lovely. He's like a real brother figure to me. Do you know what I mean? I love the guy. And I've had some brilliant talks with your dad, and I just think he's brilliant. He's really supportive. He totally understands what bands need and what they try to do, and he just gets on with it. There's no ego with him. He's just like, he's so pragmatic and blunt, and I think it's amazing. It's exactly what you need. So I just think your old man is a hero. I do. I really do. I think he's one of the great managers, actually, because he just does his job with no fuss.
Yeah.
He doesn't make it about him. He just makes it about the effort and the team. And I really love that. It's always been a massive pleasure to hang out with your dad and also to meet him, and to get to know him. And I just think he's awesome. People who do that job don't get bigged up enough. And of course, they don't perform, so people don't really see what they do.
He's definitely not one of them guys who wants bigging up, but he's like
in the background, he makes it happen, doesn't he? Yeah.
Without my dad, he's the one who's always driving us forward. Literally. But, like, and as well, he's always driving.
Actually driving.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, without my dad, like, we definitely wouldn't be at this point now.
Yeah.
Just because, like you say, there's always someone who's driving. We obviously drive ourselves, but you need someone behind you. And like I said, to do that from, he's been with us since like 2010, so best part of, 15 years. He's fully committed and behind it. You wouldn't want anyone else in your corner either. Because
you get less for murder than 15 years. He's got good taste as well. Like, he knows what good music is. I've had some great conversations with him about tracks, and he really knows the difference between, what's good and what isn't, and that is gold dust, really.
Have you heard a band called Aslan? Kieran's been listening to them a little bit. I think they're an Irish band. And
send me a link, my friend. You know me. Also, I love Irish bands.
Didn't he hear a cover band playing an Aslan tune when he were on holiday, and he got into them, and then since then us four have been hearing Aslan in van for about
Right, yeah.
all the time.
Do you know, I remember this with the DMAs and loads of other things over the years, you lads. You know, you get your kind of fixations and play this stuff over and over. I love it. I know you.
Yeah, the class.
That's great.
But yeah, we've heard that album a good few times, haven't we?
Yeah, trying to get to sleep on the way to Germany. Just trying to, against the side of the van like this, like 4 a.m, and this album's going on repeat, and you can't quite get to sleep. And you're like, oh my God. Change the CD.
When me and our Brandon used to, we used to go on family holidays down to northern Spain, like
Costa Brava.
yeah,
yeah.
And you know when James Blunt debut album came out,
I
we all
remember,
big
yeah.
Jesus wept. We must have heard that
I bet he did and all listening to that.
2,000 times, like
I'll tell you
repeat after repeat.
Another one were Proclaimers. We used to listen to Proclaimers album, Sunshine on Leaf. I think about a million times.
I think you probably would have wanted to get out and walk 5,000 miles.
So he says he were into his punk music, my dad, and then I think he's done a full circle where when he first started getting into music, it was just punk, had the blinkers on, that's my thing. And then I think as he must have been hearing stuff like Jam, stuff that he probably again probably thinking, actually, they've got a good tune. And then I think that's really helped me and our Brandon growing up, because like by the time we were growing up, I think my dad's range of music was just so wide, it was like everything were getting played.
Literally everything.
Just touching on mods and rockers, Gav.
Yeah.
We were telling Alex before this, you were in Quadrophenia, weren't you?
I was an extra, yeah. There was a girl at the end of Brighton Pier with 2 boxes that said mods and rockers, and she'd look at you and go, mod, rocker, and give you either a leather jacket or a suit jacket. And I was one of those. Loads and loads of people all turned up. And if you looked kind of cool enough, you could be in the film, you know. I'm probably a distant dot on the beach smashing up a deck chair.
You're in it. That's true.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, you know, me and probably about 900 other kids, and half of them ended up fighting each other. The police turned up at one point. But I used to get loads of work as an extra in films, because I think you could do that then. You just hear about something and then you and loads of your mates would all turn up and you'd end up being in a film. And loads of films from that era ended up being quite big. Nobody ever realised how big things were going to be, but you'd sometimes turn up for something and then you can kind of show your kids like you as a teenager running about being an idiot in a film, you know, sort of thing. So,
Legendary film, that though.
yes, yeah. The thing is, if you're an extra, sometimes you never get to see the film being made. You're literally in it for one day.
Yeah.
And you go about your business, and then you see what the story was that you were actually in, and you're like, oh, that's why we had to do that. It's quite fascinating. You don't actually see the story. It's not like you're actually seeing the film as it's being made or any of that. You basically turn up, you're told to do something quite abstract that seems to be nothing to do with anything. And then when you see it in context later, if the film is lucky enough to become famous, you see your part in it, or the part that you were, depends on whether you end up in the cutting room floor or not, your part where you were kind of, I don't know, soldier number 9 or something like that, or dog handler number 2 or burglar number 16, that kind of stuff. You see why you were doing it later. Even if you don't have a speaking part, it just makes the film more realistic. I think there were a bunch of people like me who used to dress a certain way that would always get parts in things because of the way they looked. That, I guess, is one of the advantages sometimes of being in the music culture, is that you kind of dress in a way that is not like everyone else. You set yourself apart by, it's kind of tribal, but it does mean you get parts in films and stuff like that, and adverts. So, you know, or it certainly used to mean that. Those type of things then were kind of a bit of a side hustle for a lot of people who were in bands. You know, you could go somewhere and not have to get changed and still work. So, it was a lot of it about then. Have you ever been in anything like that? I've seen your videos, of course. I'm just wondering if you've ever been in any acting roles.
We aren't, no.
Yeah, well, maybe someone's listening, you know. Maybe Kieran could be burglar number 17.
Who knows?
You know.
New James Bond movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, you know. Got to get yourself a white cap before you can do anything like that.
I was in a crowd on the Joe McHale show once.
Oh, what really? Yeah, what happened?
I can't remember, but I'll tell you one thing that they did do. Before, they did like a role play, you know, to get everyone sort of going, all the crowd and stuff. So they got me up, and you sit in the seat, and then this older lady, and you do like a bit of role play.
Sounds interesting so far.
I think it was something to do with like, I nicked some jammy Dodgers or whatever. Did something stupid like that. But, you know, the studio lights, my eyebrows wouldn't stop twitching. And they still do it to this day. You know, when you see on TV, my eyebrows just look uncontrollable, like, twitching. It's horrendously uncomfortable.
Yeah. So, well, maybe there's a career there for you. You know, Jammy Dodger, burglar number 18. You know. No, that's great, man. I mean, yeah, the music business is totally different now, isn't it? How are you finding that to be yourselves, having to provide TV content constantly?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's like people think, oh, when you sign up, well, you don't really sign up to be in a band, you just become a band, don't you? But like, if you
when you finally meet Satan and do the deal,
It's completely changed. Like up until as though it's a few weeks ago, it were actually years. Maybe his second album. That's probably when I first started hearing about TikTok.
Yeah.
Didn't even know what it was. I'm still not on it. It's like you said, Gav. You can look at it one way or another. You can be, oh, it was better when I was younger. Whereas we can't do that because we're talking like a few years ago kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we've got no choice. Or embrace it. And I think that's the best way. Like,
of course.
Use it to your advantage kind of thing. And we're not the best at it, but
you can have an audience of millions now.
Yeah.
A record company was the only way to get that at one point, but now you can do it yourself. If you know what you're doing, you can actually make your audience grow absolutely huge without the aid of any kind of formal company or structure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unique. You couldn't really do that before. There's no way of doing it, but there is now. I mean, that's a great thing, surely.
It's crazy. It's mental. Like you say, like you used to have to probably hire a studio, like studio time and do all that. It's just completely different, isn't it? Whereas these days, like you could potentially, if you're good enough, make a full record in your bedroom, realistically, if you're good enough, and then get on TikTok and do all the viral stuff that gets you viral, and then just boom, be massive. So
you could do it on GarageBand, couldn't you, Kay?
That's it. Used to be good on that at one point, but everybody, that was episode 13 of the Sherlocks podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed listening to the chat with Gavin Monaghan, absolute legend. Thanks for doing that, Gav. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll see you all next week. And there's one thing left. Frody?
Like, share, subscribe, and get your comments in the comment section.
Get out!
Come on!